Firstly, welcome to Birmingham.
That's not a question.
Just a general hello. So, many franchises you've been part of. What's been your favourite thing?
Franchises?
Well,
I've been part of. That's a franchise? Firefly is a franchise.
I would say it's a franchise. It's got video games.
Fandoms.
It's not a franchise,
It's a
though, is it?
fandom.
Hate the word fan.
Do you?
You know what fan stands for?
No.
Fanatic.
Oh yeah.
It's a derogatory term created by people who didn't understand what having heroes was all about.
So would you refer to, so what would you refer to people who would identify themselves as fans
What's
of
your
the
name?
event? Callum.
I'd refer to you as Callum.
Fair enough.
Fan is a really weird word. It's a very it has a very negative connotation. You got to remember that for years, and even still now, watch a news piece. Say you watch a morning news piece on the MCM Expo is going to be in Birmingham. Blah, 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 blah. Oh, and what's happening this morning? The look on the face of most people who be talking is a bunch of sad people who live in their parents' basement, apparently, who all dress up as furries and do weird stuff and you know, have no lives and do it. I mean, that's the context of what it is. Whereas in real life, when you do a show like Battlestar, you do a show like Firefly, you meet a huge cross section of the human race with multiply different jobs who are all held together by a common thread of enjoying a particular show that has a voice or expresses itself in a certain way for them. Like the amount of trial lawyers that are enamoured by my character in Battlestar Galactica would be extraordinary. What are you doing?
Sorry.
It's okay. I'll wait for you to finish.
But yeah, to me, a follower of football is nothing different to a follower of a TV series.
Yeah, okay, absolutely, it is different. A follower of football is different than a follower of a.
But you can be say a fan of football as well in the same terms.
It's very unlikely that you'll dress as that footballer.
Well, you get hundreds of them each week.
You know, that's the old Fat Eddie joke, and the bishop talks about. It's like, hold on, we need a striker. Yeah, you, Fat Eddie, come on. No, we're talking about a very, very different thing, and without putting too weird a spin on it, it's like, for example, a show like Supernatural seems to attract as a tone of family and it doesn't matter if you're an underdog, and there's a lot of really amazingly positive sort of fighting concepts behind it, and it seems to be that, you know, there's a lot more troubled people in the world than there ever used to be before, or maybe they're just a bit more vocal than they used to be, or maybe we just see more of them, maybe we have bigger conventions. But you know, mental illness and mental difficulties and social issues are just prevalent in this day and age. It's impossible to go through life without knowing somebody or being somebody that is affected by this. And what's fascinating to me about Supernatural is because there's a lot of amazing things that have been done by cast members and people around it. There is a sort of feeling of family, which is, you know, people will come together and bond together and help each other in the context of because we can help each other. And a lot of people who feel outside the realm of normal, or outside the realm of help, or outside the realm of society's norms, tended to relate to the show. And I see the most incredible stuff being done by the Supernatural family, as they're called. The quote-unquote fans of Supernatural coming together to help other people to do stuff, and it's an amazing catalyst for that. We're not saving lives or doing it in that way. Well, Misha is a lot of the time. He's building hospitals and schools. We do a bunch for charity. It's kind of fun, but in truth, it just has become this wonderful catalyst to signify people being able to come together and help each other, and you're not alone, and you're not this and you're not that. And it's not cynical, and it's not negative, and I'm very proud of how that has seemed to work, because there seems to be a lack of that elsewhere in the world. So, I think it takes a tremendous amount of courage to where your heart on your sleeve, should we say. So to dress as somebody who you idolise, or not even idolise anymore, it's just somebody, you're even trying to make a statement because the meaning of what you're wearing means something to other people. It's kind of, it can be brilliantly witty, or, you know, people blending two characters together in a costume that just makes you laugh your ass off if you know what it is. So look how clever I am, and it's in jokes and fun stuff, because we've always been the outsiders. The geeks have always been the people that are looked down upon, or you guys are weird. Well, no, actually, we sort of like, you know, run your television stations and we make your content, and if you really look really closely, we're running the universe now. So the geeks have inherited the earth, but it was always the guilty secret. Now it's actually kind of the norm in a way. Is that, you know, to be a fan of something is the norm. So maybe we're changing the meaning of the word. Maybe it comes away from
a word that's been taken back. Definitely.
I don't know if it's been taken back, because you still see idiots talking about it like it's something derogatory. You're something less than because you're a fan of something. Oh, those fans, people dressing up in Star Wars costumes. It's like, yeah, for the last 30, 40 years, it's been pretty much people dressing up in Star Wars costumes. But, you know, the fact that, you know, the 501st do massive charity work is kind of more interesting to me, that people use it as a way of coming together rather than a way of being separate. They used to use it to tell us we were weird. Now we're using it to come together to tell people that they should be paying attention to what's going on the bloody planet. I think it's brilliant. I think it's really cool. And then you get, you know, the format and the delivery systems by which we've achieved our stories has changed so much. I mean, you know, you can only make a graphic novel out of that. It's not actually a derogatory term anymore. You know, that's not a failure that you've written a graphic novel. It's a huge success. It doesn't matter what format you do your story in. To have a story come out can be brilliant. But now, you know, you look at the first Battlestar Galactica, and you could look at the first Battlestar Galactica as, even though it has the same basic story and the same basic set of ideas as Ron Moore's reimagining, it's an awfully cynical rip-off of Star Wars fans. If you really look, no matter how much you're trying to make it something that has this great base story and this idea of civilization and monotheistic and polytheistic societies and all the rest of this stuff, and trying to find an Earth, it all still turns into sort of Buck Rogers meets Star Wars, which was, I think, really sad about that. But now, you know, you get people like Ron, on the early edge of you know, what we would call suicide television, I guess, because it's, you know, it's, oh look, it's serialized. You can't possibly start it in the middle. You have to watch it from the beginning. Oh look, it's sci-fi, but it has a beginning, a middle, and an end, and it didn't get cancelled. It's amazing. So now we've gone into box sets of that. So we'll watch box sets the way that we used to have to find that show on cable or whatever it is that way. And I just think it's brilliant. I think delivery systems are changing. I did Bionic Woman at a time when 11 million viewers was a disaster. That's funny to me. They pray for 11 million viewers now, or being able to, by their measuring systems, have 11 million viewers. You know, I remember sitting with Eddie Olmos, and I'm like, so we've got 1.6 million viewers, how come I can't walk down the street without somebody going, great episode last night? Or, so we were the guilty secret of everybody, and the way they measured it was garbage. So it's fascinating for me to come to places like this all over the world and see the results of that, and to see another generation take the freedoms that come from going, we can dress any way we like and we can do anything we like and still hold down a job. Don't have to live in our parents' basement if we really don't want to, probably. It's kind of cool, it's kind of amazing. And, you know, people with issues now have a safe place to come and be without being picked on. I think that's, you know, that sounds so disingenuous to so many people that I know, but I think it's a lot safer place than the quote-unquote real world, which is, you know, go down the pub and be part of, so we can come to a place and like-minded people and be part of a different universe. I think it's a fantastic thing, and all the good ones are all based on love, which is hardly a negative experience. I think it's kind of wonderful. Got any other questions? Covered it. Can I go home now?
So when you're being approached or
Thursday.
looking for work,
Yeah.
are you particular about what it is that you get approached about?
You know, I'm an actor, right?
No.
So basically, we're just a whore in a dress. Am I
Are
particular?
you fussy, basically?
Am I
Can you
fussy?
be
Who
fussy?
would you work about?
Can I be fussy?
Yeah.
I don't know. You could. I could give you a really good answer to that. I just thought of something. You do realise that the things that I did that you think are cool weren't cool before I did them.
Nope.
You should put that on a t-shirt and walk around your next con with that on.
No, you should put that on a t-shirt. You should wear that the next time I act. But it's true. It's the things that I've done that you think are cool. It's part of Firefly. I was in the pilot of Firefly, and made it yet. You think it's cool. So what? I go, oh, this is going to be cool. It's a weird thing. I've been at the. I don't know. Maybe I get offered the jobs. Everyone goes, either, oh, Mark will do that. Kind of interesting. Because I've got a lot of friends who are writers who go, yeah, Mark will do that. Or it'll be, I have no idea what to do with this, what do you think? And it's like, if it's a story, an interesting thing. Crowley for me was a fascinating thing. It's because Kim Manners, I knew Kim Manners really well. Kim Manners had passed. And I'd never done Supernatural. I'd never been asked to do Supernatural. And they were going through a period of time when they were auditioning for everything. They wouldn't give anything to anybody. And the Crossroads Demon came out, and Ben had written it, and Kim had just passed, and sort of I was like, oh, really? They'd never asked me to do it ever, and here it shows up now. I'm like, maybe this could be something really fun. But it was still something they didn't really know what they were going to do with it as far as long term was concerned. Very well written, but that suddenly turned into 8 years. So you can't, the shape of that changes what it is. I've been lucky enough that the things, there's only very few things I've ever done I don't like. And that's experiences with certain people that I thought would be fun and they're not. I'm sure there's plenty of people who work with me again, I thought it was going to be fun, it wasn't. If you think of Firefly and Battlestar. Battlestar was written for me, it's the most amazing gift. Ron was like, oh, I have something for you. I'm like, what? He goes, 3 episodes of Battlestar. I'm like, okay. He's like, I think you'll like it, it's like nothing else you've ever done. I read it, I was like, oh, crap. So when your friends write you stuff, you've got to be really good. Because otherwise you're letting down your friends and their bosses and their people and their stuff. And it's sort of, you're like, oh, thanks for the burden. Somebody once asked me, did I improv in Battlestar? He was like, oh, such great dialogue. I said, the dialogue's written, it's beautiful. And it's well written, you can remember it for the next 25 years. Michelangelo created the character of Romo, which is actually short for Ron Moore. Romo. He said, and I remember the dialogue he was saying, but somebody said, like, well, so, how much of it do you make up? I'm like, let me read you something. So I picked up a script from Sun Also Rises, I think, and I said, let me read you an action line, something you'd never be able to read because it's not dialogue. So it's a piece of instruction as to either the reader, basically, to know what's happening in the room, right? And I think it was in the middle of the interrogation scene of the 6, if you know anything to do with Battlestar or parts of Battlestar. She's essentially the witness for the prosecution, and after talking to me, she stops being the witness for the prosecution. So it's a speech of some import. So in the midst of this speech is an action line that says, Lee, which is Apollo, looks up, but not at the 6, at Romo, who removes his glasses for the first time, revealing eyes so exquisitely human as to require the veiling or unveiling at will. I'm like, yeah, all right, that could be tough. I remember my conclusion on seeing it was like, yeah, not bad, looked a bit tired, but it's kind of it was that moment. And you realise the import of how things were written and why they're written, and that a lover of that, Amy Berg, was writing the Mark Sheppard in Leverage. It was called the Mark. I didn't know it was called the Mark Sheppard. It was Sterling, and you get this. I still had to fight to get it. It was just really funny, because that's the other thing, is if friends write you stuff, they still go, great, but Alan Cumming's available. And they go, yes, he's great, he's wonderful, but this is Mark. If you look at the graphic novel, that's him in a gorilla suit with 2 Tommy guns. That's his face. I said, yeah, he's great. What about The Rock? It's like, The Rock is not going to do this, you know. Let's, why don't we get Mark to do it, seeing as it's Mark? So you still get the fight that's in that, but so to answer it, you know, we're whores in dresses, but you want everything to be good, but not everything can be good. Some things you get afraid of, and sometimes it's a good idea to do it. And then sometimes I have friends that throw me in the rabbit hole, you know. So you never know. Stuff I want to do, and sort of go off in that direction. I just did 8 years of a character, so it's kind of fun to do it that way. Did I answer your question?
Yeah.
A long way. You have a question?
What have you got in the pipeline to do next? Is
None of your damn business. Why would I tell you?
Interesting.
I don't need to announce stuff, do I? If I've got something to announce, I'll announce it. I'm actually on tour right now with Robin Hitchcock, who's a musician that I played with in 1981 and 1982, which will age everybody in this room. If you can remember it, that means you're old. So when I was 17, I played with Robin Hitchcock in his first or second band after the Soft Boys, and last year we started playing again. Well, he's always playing, so last year I started playing drums for him again. So I'll be back in May. We're playing Manchester Academy. We're doing Mark Riley radio session, and then we're going down to London and play University of London Union, which I haven't done in 35 years, so that should be fun. So yeah, and it's, you know, Luther Russell playing guitar and Tony Buchan playing bass, which are two monster producers in their own right, let alone great musicians. But so if anyone's bored, the 11th and 12th of May will be very exciting. I'll be here and down there. Isn't that weird I'm doing that? So starting again. I've got like an article in Modern Drama coming out. In August. I took this huge break from drumming and then came back to it, and it was so much fun doing it. So, of course, you know, it doesn't hurt that I get to do it without having to sleep in a van. So it's kind of good. You want a question?
Yeah. After like playing a character for so long, do you notice?
What do you mean so long? How old are you?
16.
16? So after playing a character for half of your life, it's not half of my life. You say, no, it's fascinating to me when you say so long. It's like you don't realise when you're doing it how long that period of time is. You know, when you're 3, a year is a third of your life.
Yeah.
When you're 80, it really isn't.
But like, do you notice?
Still, if you realise, I'm probably not going to answer your question.
Do you notice the character development, or do you look back and be
Do
like,
I notice the
wow,
character
it's
development?
different, or...
Barry Corbin had a really interesting thing he said to a friend of mine. He was like talking about his career. Oh, my career. He goes, actors don't have careers. He goes, you work, you don't work, you get old, you look back and you go, oh look, I had a career. It's relative, it's subjective and objective depending on what you're doing. You can't, it's not a job. You don't just apply for the job and get the job and that's your career and that's what you do, and I'm going to be doing 6 years over here. And nobody knew how long anything was going to run for or not. Firefly, everybody thought was going to run forever. You know, but it was at a time when terrestrial television was a disaster. And with 11 million viewers, it was a disaster, which is now a huge hit. So, relative to it, I don't know, you just, you don't look back, you do the next thing. People remind you, you remind. What's your favourite thing that I do? Anything? You'll watch me do anything. Do you know who I am? Do you know who I am?
I think my first... Doctor Who.
Doctor Who.
That was the most fun I've ever had. They asked me to do Doctor Who. They called me up and asked me, do you want to be in Doctor Who? I'm like, what? You want to play James Bond in Doctor Who is basically what they said. In 1969. I'm like, yeah, pretty much. And then I couldn't do it. Because Supernatural were like, oh, we got the schedule problem. I'm like, and I was literally had to call them and say, I can't do this. And luckily a man called Marcus Wilson, who used to work on Taggart and worked on Doctor Who and stuff, said, hold on a second, are you working right now? I'm like, no. He says, when are you getting a plane on Saturday? And we flipped the schedule the other way around. I was like, and then I got a phone call from Warner Brothers going, tell us you didn't just get on a plane. Oh, maybe I should have asked some permission first. So I had to call Sarah Gamble up, who was the showrunner at the time. I said, I think I just stuffed up really badly. She said, what'd you do? I said, well, I'm kind of doing Doctor Who. She says, all right, I'll call you back. She comes back, actually, fine. I got a phone call from a first AD going, fine. Go to bloody England or Wales or wherever that you are. You better be back on Tuesday. I'm like, I'll be back. So I flew backwards and forwards to do it. And Matt is lovely, and Arthur's lovely, and God, she's lovely, and they're all just amazing. They're all just so much fun to do. They used to sing in between shots to each other. Just such a weird choral singing. They're just pleasant people. They're lovely to work with. Matt's, he's a wicked actor. Arthur's actually a really wicked actor. It was just fun to do, and watching him do it with no money. No money. And yet, absolutely all out. Because the way they make American television is based on the idea that you're actually shooting something that would take 10 or 12 days to shoot in 8 days. So you have to work out how overtime works. So you now have to build overtime into how you make something happen. In England, because the unions got busted, you don't have overtime. So I said, it says we stop at 7 o'clock. What happens when we go over? Oh, we don't go over. What do you mean you don't go over? So I don't go over. Why not? Because, well, we'd have to poll everybody and find out if they were busy. What do you mean? I can't tonight. My Auntie Mabel is coming over. Sorry. I was like, really? Like, yeah. So they shoot in their time period and they get it right and they work damn hard to do it. And I understand now, so even in the green room there's a like a craft service area, whatever you call it. So the idea, by the way, was invented by the Americans to stop union workers taking breaks. So you could go get food anytime you like. That was the idea, so you wouldn't have regimented breaks. So I was like, do you have a craft service table? They're like, no, we don't have one of those. Would you like one? No, we don't want one of those. There's a girl that come round about 4 o'clock with a cup of tea and a biscuit. Great, and she had a Firefly tattoo on her ankle. She's lovely. So it was a different way of doing things. It was so much fun to do. Moffat said something brilliant about that character. Where are you going? I'm not stopping. I'm still talking. Moffat said something brilliant about that afterwards, because he said to play a character, he said he was kind of uncomfortable with the gay characters that he'd written so far. With, in the context of Captain Jack being almost a stereotype in a way of what it was that he was doing. Somebody interviewed him, it was just fascinating. He goes, what was funny was none of those characters that I wrote represented anybody I knew that was gay. It was like, but he said what was weird was he decided to write Canton, so the fact that Canton was gay was a big part of Canton's story, but it's not the only bloody thing we're dealing with Canton in the entire thing, which I thought was a fascinating way to go. And I think kind of off the record, he said off in the end of the second episode is so unmacho, and I'm like, no, it's brilliantly macho. It's because you're finally not playing an effete character with an issue. It's like it's James Bond with an issue. It's kind of fun, which actually I thought it always reflected people I knew better than the way it was done. So I love the fact that I could go to conventions and people would have a picture of me and Nixon. Me and Stuart as Nixon, and it's like, me too. Or he is, it's kind of funny. It's just, it's kind of cool. So there was a lot of stuff about that was very different. But also then there was the low budget element. And we had the Oval Office, but you couldn't step on the carpet because it was only freshly painted. We only have one with the eagle on it. And if we're not shooting the floor, can we please stay up and off that part of the carpet? So it's very BBC. My favourite bit was, they have to fly you if you're travelling to work. They have to fly you first class. It's a union thing. So I'm expected to be able to get off a plane and go to work. And so, they booked me a flight, and I get a phone call from some department of the BBC saying, "Hello, yes, this is the travelling something weights and measures department of the BBC." And we have to ask you a question. I said, sure, of course. What's the question? Would you be willing to fly premium economy? And I'm like, what the fuck? So I'm like, is there an issue here? Oh, no. We're a publicly funded company and we have to ask. I'm like, so let me ask you a question. What was that? I said, has anybody ever said yes when you've asked them this question? No. I said, well, don't be surprised by my answer. I always thought it was so quaint and brilliant and weird. You know, being English and having never really worked in England, apart from I did In the Name of the Father after I'd been working in America. So a film with Jim Sheridan and Daniel Day-Lewis is a very different proposition than doing British TV or even American TV. It's a very, very different, it's a different world, it's a different setup around you. It's a bubble in a very different way. It's like a year of my life almost. So to come back and do Who in Cardiff is just like, oh, this is so much fun. You know? They gave me my per diems, they gave me an envelope, and I was like, you know, you get money for every day so you can eat and stuff, so I got an envelope and it had 180 quid in it, and I was like, that's one, thank you very much. I said, like, how long is this for? Is this, and they're like, oh, shut up. I'm like, what do you mean, shut up? It's like, it's for the duration. I went, £10 a day. You pay me £10 a day to eat, make phone calls, wash my socks. I'm like, interesting, hasn't changed in 25, 30 years. I was like, oh, this is really funny, it's really great. I'm like, I've got money, I didn't need the money, but I thought, oh, that's really cute, I just got paid £10 a day to eat. So I go over to the food bus, you know, the food bus. And there were a bunch of Aston Villa supporters, it was really funny. A bunch of thugs. Aston Villa, great cooks. Food was amazing. Right? I thought I was expecting it all to be yellow like all the food used to be in the BBC. And I go up there and I get my breakfast. Oh, hi, Mark, hey, nice to see you. Here's your breakfast, blah, blah, blah. That'll be £2, please. I'm like, what? You got to pay £2 for your breakfast. I'm like, really? I only just got given 10. So I had to pay £2 for breakfast, £4 for lunch. They took 6 quid off me before I left the lot. I'm like, getting stuffed here. So, you know, and you realise that people, you know, the hairdressers and the makeup artists that worked on that also worked on Treasure Island that my dad had done in Jamaica, and they're the same, they've been working for the BBC for the same, but they've been getting the same mileage allowance since 1973. So you realise after a while that a lot of people here make what they make from a sense of love and want and desire to make the best possible thing that it can make. So it's not a cynical thing. It's not, you know, like sports or wherever where it's all, you know, it's literally, to get this done is going to be impossible. We'll never have enough money. So how do we do it? And it's lovely to watch that was the way that Who was done, which is the same way as Supernatural is done, which is the same way as Firefly and Battlestar and everything else is done. So there you go. There should be enough material for you for a couple of weeks. Anything else?
You mentioned working with your father.
I didn't.
Sorry, you mentioned your father.
You just mentioned me working with your father.
You mentioned your father. You've worked with your father a couple of roles. Usually.
Are you juggling?
Sorry.
By the way, in sign language, that's bollocks. You have to be very careful that that's bollocks. So, bullshit. Bollocks.
So you either played a younger version of your father played an older version of yourself quite a few times. Is it weird when you're both on set together? Does it have a different kind of feel to a normal set when you're both there at the same time?
We weren't both there at the same time. I was there but if we're playing the same role, we're not there at the same time. Otherwise it would be very confusing. We had been at the same time, but I directed him in a film. I'd give him a huge set of speeches to learn. I'd given him like 2.5 weeks to learn it. I was like, it's okay. And he decided not to learn the bits that said voiceover. Because he said, well, I'll just do them in the studio, mate. Thanks for forcing my cuts. So like, now I have to not shoot you doing that. Oh, so you're telling me that's where I'm going to be cutting just because it says, that's what it says in the script. What's your problem? So there's this huge argument. It's like, go away, I've got headphones. As I'm walking away, he's bitching and moaning about me. So I'm like, what am I going to say? Turn your microphone off when you're cursing out the road. Sorry. No, it's just funny. You realise you're not immune from anything. You know, but NCIS was hysterical to do. They're like, do you want to come and do your dad's flashbacks? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. It's so much fun to do. And who came about because they said, so when are you going to be able to come over and do the prosthetics? I'm like, oh, what, the older, oh, why don't you just call my dad? They went, do you think he'd do it? I'm like, of course he'd do it, it's Doctor Who, it'd be hysterical. He's like, so I called him up. He's like, oh sure. I didn't ask him, I just said, sure he'll do it, no problem at all. So I called him, I said, oh, you can do Doctor Who? He goes, oh, it's not all bloody cardboard and string still, is it? I said, no, it's actually very good, you'll enjoy it. He goes, oh, I saw a bit. I said, I saw a bit on BBC America, it's very good actually. So I like that Matt Smith boy, it's very good. So he got to play with him, he loves him. It's so much fun.
So chaps, I think, unless you've got one quick one to round off with, oh god.
A quick one before
So,
we go away.
going back over your filmography, you've actually done a quite a good mix of both crime dramas and things like Supernatural and Warehouse 13. Do you have a preference for doing sort of the realistic NCIS CSI thing, or the kind of the more fanciful Supernatural and Sliders and
Sliders, well, you threw that one in. Got kicked in the face in that one. What's funny about Sliders, we shot that on the lot at Universal. And we had to stop filming for the trams to be able to go past full of tourists. So when you realise that the trams going past full of tourists make more money than the television show, it's when you get humbled by the idea of what we're actually doing here. The theme park makes more money than the television station. So the thing about sci-fi and quote-unquote genre shows is that it involves a large amount of imagination and what if, and that's a fascinating thing to do. And even the stuff that's placed in history is still imagination and what if. And it's, you build a world, you inhabit the world, and I've been very lucky in that stuff. But I've always found there's very little difference between that and the stuff that I've done in 24 or NCIS or CSIs. I mean, the last CSI episode I did was written by 2 writers from Battlestar. And the joke is my character's name is the name of the Russian premier in Dr. Strangelove. If you look it up.
Dimitri
Yes.
something.
Dimitri? Yes, Dimitri. No, Dimitri. He's calling him in the whorehouse. 3 o'clock in the morning as the missiles are going, sapping our precious fluids. But yeah, so David Weddell and his writing partner wrote that episode, which is hysterical. But I got to play with Lawrence Fishburne. I went and did Las Vegas, because it's like, do you want to go hang out with James Caan and Alec Baldwin for a week? And my job was just to get them to tell stories. The director couldn't come anywhere near him until the story had finished. It was absolutely the most hysterical stuff going on. Foul-mouthed, awful, brilliantly funny stuff for a week. So yeah, I mean, but storytelling. If you got a, In the Name of the Father was my first film, and I met the man that I played. But it's still imagination and trying to live truthfully under imaginary circumstances. Just more fun, I guess, if you get to kill 6 or 7 billion people. You know, people are like, so what did you do to prepare your role for Crowley? I was like, yeah, I went out and murdered people and tortured them. It's all what if, you know? It's all kind of what if. I don't know. Maybe I'm still just playing the same role over and over again. Oh God, so depressing. I don't know. I told this story yesterday. It's my favourite thing ever. It was a woman from TV Guide who was on the TV Guide boat in San Diego. And she was setting up the interview, the 74th interview of the day. And Misha and myself had come in and sat down at the end of the boat. And it's hot and sticky and the sun is shining at Comic Con. We're on the water and everybody's been there. And she's not even looking. She's fine. And the camera, yes, great, wonderful. She goes, okay, we're rolling, yes. And she looks up for the first time at me and goes, so, what's left for you? I'm like, excuse me? She meant what's next for you. And she said, what's left for you? And unfortunately, that just keeps ringing in my ears every time I'm not working. What's left for me?
There's always King Lear.
King Lear. King Lena. No, I never want to do King Lear. That's not what I would do. I'm much more likely to play a fool or a... So I've got an idea. Me and Tony Lee have an idea for something that we're trying to do. So we'll see if that comes off. That would be something really fun to do. I'd love to do a series in England. I'd love to do a series in England. Maybe I got to the point where I want to do a Luther or a Cracker or something that's just brilliant. Maybe we have to write it, which we may be doing, but or you know, it's time for me to do something that I love in that context. Because I never worked here. I've never done anything here. I'm so close to doing stuff. Who and bits of the Inland File that we did in Manchester and Liverpool were the only stuff I've done here. Never acted in this country. It's weird, isn't it? It'd be nice to come back and play some pompous arse that went to America and came back and, you know, how are you back then? Yeah, it's nice and hot in America, is it?
Down and out in Birmingham.
Yeah, Birmingham, me.